there's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today.
This is Heath House, an imposing Gothic Victorian mansion set in a 480-acre estate in Staffordshire. John and Flavia are the latest in a long line of the Phillips family, who have lived on this site since the mid-16th century. But despite their best efforts, they can no longer cope with its demands and have put the estate up for sale.
There was no other alternative other than to put it on the market, which is what happened.
It's never been easy for the Phillipses because they've never had enough money to run it happily.
But not everyone in the family is in agreement.
If it goes and everything in the house goes with it, you will never ever have anything like that again.
Can businesswoman Ruth Watson help the Phillips keep this fine part of our national heritage in the family and find a role for Heath House in the modern world?
Nobody's recently married an heiress, which would help.
They don't think I can wipe my bottom.
You've got to stop sitting on the pot and actually start pissing.
Heath House is a Grade II listed mansion built in the Gothic style in the late 1830s. 11 years ago, John Phillips retired from the family business and was looking forward to a quiet life. But when his mother died in 2002, he and wife Flavia were forced to take on Heath House and all that it entails.
Heath House represents work in a big way. To keep it going, you don't stop. You just do not stop.
The elderly couple divide their time between the comfortable family home in Worcestershire and Heath House, 75 miles away.
We don't live here full-time because in the winter it is extremely expensive to have the heating on.
But with just one housekeeper and one gardener on site, most of the work tending the 480-acre estate, with its 22 lawns and countless rooms, falls to John and Flavia.
Really, by your 70s, you think, well, let the next generation take over.
The Phillips have two bachelor sons. 40-year-old Justin has no desire to take on the house, but Ben, 42, is keen to inherit. For very good reason, John is not convinced this is such a good idea.
Everything that the family has had has been spent in large measure on this house and keeping it going.
With this in mind, John and Flavia believe their only option is to sell up. It's a decision Ben thinks his parents will live to regret.
It is such an emotional wrench for my parents for all sorts of reasons that it's very difficult for people to just calm down and think clearly about this thing.
Pensions advisor Ben lives in London, where he lodges with his aunt Anthea. She knows the commitment that her sister Flavia has made to Heath House.
Flavia didn't want this house in the first place. That was her wedding vows to John. I will marry you as long as I don't have anything to do with this house.
It costs £70,000 a year to run the estate, and John and Flavia are fearful of allowing their eldest son to take on such a burden.
Benjamin is, how would we describe Benjamin?
Cerebral.
He's cerebral and not practical. He could have good organisational abilities.
What, Benjamin?
He could have.
Struggling to keep the ancestral home going, the Phillips had no alternative but to put the house up for sale for £3.5 million.
It's increasingly difficult to balance the books. There is no capital left.
But 2 years later, it remains unsold, and the family is in real trouble. After 14 generations, is this the end of the Phillips dynasty at Heath House?
We have run out of ideas. We are lumbered with, if you like, a glorified white elephant.
Businesswoman Ruth Watson has turned around the fortunes of numerous country houses with her straight-talking, no-nonsense approach.
We just have no idea what to do. So if Ruth can produce some really workable ideas, well, fine, let's hear them.
Today, Ruth is in Staffordshire to meet John and Flavia. Over the next few days, she'll try and come up with a plan to make the estate pay for itself.
Bell not working, come in and shout. Okay. Hello? Everything about this house is so imposing. This hallway, I mean, is totally magnificent. This was built to really show things off.
Oh, hello.
Hello, you must be
Very
Flavia.
nice to meet you.
Very good to meet you too. Hello. John.
Hello, Ruth.
Yes,
Nice to meet
hi.
you.
How do you do? How do you do? Well, you do live in a stonking great pile here, don't you?
Yes, it's quite big.
How many bedrooms?
Do you know, Ruth, I'm sorry, I don't know.
I think that says it all.
There are miles of corridors, but I honestly don't know.
Well, you're in a position now where you think you may have to sell the house. Was that forced by anything particularly?
Well, we're not getting any younger.
And John, do you feel sad about it?
I feel very, very sad. I'm the 14th generation to live on this part of North Staffordshire and the 5th generation to own this house. So it's a lineage that is not easily forgotten about.
Could we go on the grand tour?
Certainly, come this way.
Built between 1836 and 1840, Heath House was designed to impress on every level.
I'll open the doors now, Ruth. As you can see, they were made on a large scale and made extremely well.
They're very, very fine carpentry, aren't they?
They are, yes. 160 years ago.
Fantastic. I can't help but notice that this house has an abundance of furniture. Why so much?
I think by Victorian standards, this could be nearly minimalist, but I agree with you. It is quite well furnished. Our sons are not married, so nothing has been handed on.
Ah, so it hasn't been sequestered by the next generation.
Not quite, not quite. Well, we live in hope.
And you don't think your two sons could carry on?
Not realistically, because there is not a salary here.
Before Ruth can draft a plan of action for Heath House, she needs to find out the true state of the family finances.
Could we just go through what efforts you've made to produce some revenue stream?
I do these weddings. We did none in 2008 because we thought the house was going to be sold. In the event we had the worst of all worlds, we had no revenue from weddings, and nor was the house sold. But in 2007, I think we did about 11 weddings. It's a bit faulty tires, but we do get there.
To make ends meet, the Phillips have also tried to get the 480-acre estate to earn its keep.
Could I just ask, how much do you get in from renting out the farmland?
About 40,000, but the farmland and the let properties. Do you mean?
The let properties together?
Yes.
So about £40,000.
With annual running costs of £70,000 a year and no wedding income, there's a £30,000 shortfall.
Did you run your own business successfully? Was it profitable?
To be perfectly straightforward, we did run out of money at the end, which was bad news, very bad news, and that was a...
So you're kind of used to running out of money?
It has been known, yes. One's learnt the hard way that if you're losing money, you've got to do something about it.
It's very obvious that for decades the Phillips family have been running out of steam. This is why they keep coming back to the notion that this house must be sold. I think it'd be a great shame because for John particularly, it does matter to him, his ancestry and the fact that the Phillips have lived here for 14 generations.
But Ruth is about to discover that all is not as it seems.
Oh dear.
And could it all be too late for Heath House?
Somebody has put in an offer.
So is he seriously considering it?
Heath House is the ancestral home of the Phillips family, who have lived on this site in North Staffordshire for 14 generations. But with overheads of £70,000 a year, it's become a burden for current owners John and Flavia Phillips, and they've put the estate up for sale. Their fortunes are very different from that of their ancestors, who, during the Industrial Revolution, built the Gothic Mansion on the profits of ribbon manufacturing. John Burton Phillips and his wife, Joanna, demolished their fine Georgian house And in 1836, work started on the splendid mansion that stands here today. The local stone was cut so precisely that no cement was used in its construction. The family set off on a grand tour of Europe for the 4 years it took to build the house, returning laden with fine art and furniture for their new home. The impressive staircase dominates the grand hall, but the crowning glory of the house, which Joanna Phillips insisted on, is the 80-foot tower. Today, John and Flavia Phillips rather wish that their ancestors hadn't decided to build such an unmanageable edifice. They've called in businesswoman Ruth Watson to help turn the fortunes of Heath House around. Ruth wants to find out more about the estate's history from Flavia. Family archives reveal evidence of the previous, more modest residence.
Those are pictures of the old house.
Right. And this is so pretty, isn't it?
Much smaller, much more practical by today's standards.
So do you think if that had not been pulled down and you'd inherited that with John, that you might still want to be here?
I think I could have enjoyed it.
And these are all Heath House in its heyday.
Yes, John's grandfather on his horse, looking pretty sort of statuesque.
You can see that nobody did anything other than enjoy themselves.
They sat about, and I think it was John's grandmother who did a lot of the photography.
Recent generations of Phillips have struggled to finance Heath House, and Flavia is reluctant to pass on this burden.
You know, with the sons, your sons, is it you really just don't think they've got the mettle to do it or the business sense to do it?
Well, one doesn't want to see them fall flat on their faces. Nobody's recently married an heiress, which would help, of course.
Yes.
I mean, if they were very gifted, or if they made a lot of money in the city or something like that, but they haven't done that so far in life. So you do have reservations.
John and Flavia's eldest son, Ben, has come up from London especially to see Ruth. They meet at the derelict stable block, a site that's ripe for development.
Looking at the house from this angle, it's incredibly forbidding. I mean, one could almost say it's grim.
Yes, it's got a kind of ghost-like quality from this angle.
But did you ever feel in the back of your mind one day, this will all be mine?
I do remember as a 5-year-old looking up and going, wow.
Your vision for the stable block, what do you think?
I desperately want to see this place developed.
Yeah.
Would one side of that make a great recording studio, for instance? I think it could be fabulous.
As the eldest son, Ben is eager to inherit the house, but his parents aren't so keen.
Why do you think that they don't want to just say, here you are, Ben, it's yours?
That is the million-dollar question, and I haven't been able to get through to them on that one.
So if a sale went ahead without you feeling that you tried your best to do something, it would make...
I would feel cheated. I'd feel gutted, actually. What there's never been, Ruth, has been a long-term strategic plan. And we've gone...
Well, I'm very pleased to hear those words emanating from your mouth, because that's entirely what this property needs and what this property doesn't appear to have had for about 100 years.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's...
With no long-term plan, there's little hope that Ben will become the 6th generation to reside at Heath House in its present form. Could this be the end of the line for the Phillips family?
Right. Well, this is it, the big family map, which goes all the way back up
I love the way it says the Phillips pedigree, like you're all dogs.
And I'm down the bottom here, and so's my brother. That's all blank from here on in.
Yeah. So if this was the end, Benjamin and Justin, how would that make you feel?
I think it would be sad. It would be sad, yes. But it is remarkable that there always seems to have been a male heir to take it on down.
So there's another burden, progeny as well. It's all down to you, Ben.
Yeah. Big shoulders, yes.
To provide an overview of the situation, John takes Ruth up the tower. Like his ancestors, he's extremely proud of it.
Right, come along, Ruth. This is the way.
Am I nearly there?
A bit more yet. But you can think that you're getting nearer to heaven with each step.
That's definitely some solace. Gosh, that's a way up. When you come up here and you survey your property, I mean, doesn't that kind of give you the spur to carry on with this rather than sell it?
I think I have inherited, like my ancestors, an air of liking to show off, and certainly bringing up one's guests up here, and I say I earn all that you can see, bow down and worship me, and they do, and they think it's wonderful. But I think they go down the tower saying to themselves, thank God it's not my responsibility.
Yes. And that's the truth of all these houses, and that's the whole point, is that unfortunately it's always in the hands of one family to maintain something that's actually for the national good. Anyway, this area is very exalted for the likes of me, so I'm going to go down.
False humility, Ruth.
Back on firm ground, Ruth takes the opportunity to explore the rest of the estate. The formal parterre and original Georgian orangery are in good repair and could provide a perfect backdrop for weddings. But the abandoned servants' quarters at the rear of the house have been neglected for decades.
Oh dear. I'm in just one room of what feels like hundreds in the derelict servants' wing. We're down to bare brick on the walls. Windows are out. I mean, this is really dangerous stuff because, you know, this is where the rot starts. And the Phillips, you know, might be living in splendour in the drawing room, but up here, it's another story.
In a bid to find solutions to the Phillips' financial problems, Ruth is on her way to Hardwick Hall, 45 miles away. It was built for Elizabeth Hardwick, once one of the wealthiest women in England. Today, it's owned by the National Trust. Assistant property manager Richard Heap shows Ruth around.
This is famous for Bess of Hardwick, isn't it?
That's right. Bess, Elizabeth, Countess of Shrewsbury, built it in the late 1500s.
And just as a sheer display of her wealth and prominence.
Oh, absolutely. She has her initials all on the turrets, so she really made sure that everyone knew she had the money, yes.
But today, Ruth is more interested in a more modest residence.
Now you've got this stable block, and what prompted the National Trust to refurbish it and turn it into holiday lets?
The stable block needed renovation, and it was decided at the time that holiday cottages would be a good avenue to go down.
Oh, this is really attractive, isn't it?
This is High Hazels, yes.
Very nicely done. How many rooms in here?
Sleeps 12, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
Like Heath House, Hardwick Hall is in prime tourist territory. Close to the Potteries, Peak District and birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, this part of the country attracts millions of visitors every year. It's a market the Phillips could be tapping into.
Here we are in one of the double rooms on the first floor of the house.
This is obviously quite a large unit. What would you say was the optimum size for a number of people?
Around about 6 to 8, I think, is probably optimum.
And in high season, what kind of rental could you expect?
For a sleep 6, high season, around about £1,400.
Fantastic. And of course, one of the other marvellous things is that you can actually see the big house. I mean, how much do you think that adds to the reason why people come?
I think that's a great attraction.
Having done her research, Ruth has come up with a portfolio of ideas that could generate a healthy income for Heath House.
Hello?
But with the property still on the market, Ruth must persuade the Phillips that keeping the estate in the family is a viable option.
The first thing I would say to you, which I think you should take comfort in, is that because the house hasn't sold and you've had it on the market for 2 years or thereabouts, that actually gives you a great window of opportunity.
Are you therefore saying that the house should be taken off the market?
I am saying that it's entirely down to you. I know you have doubts about Ben inheriting, but you also feel very strongly that, you know, you are part of the Phillips line, your sons are as well, and that this house matters to you. But actually, you're the stumbling block.
The estate costs £70,000 a year to run, but Ruth is convinced that the Phillips can achieve this by getting Heath House back in business.
My solution to the problems are, first and foremost, that you take in hand the weddings in a way that you haven't done at the moment, and really try and get some proper profit out of them. I think it could provide jolly good cash flow. I think this is something Ben could easily do while he still holds down his position in the city. That could produce an income of 50, 60, 70, 80,000 a year if it's done properly.
After her visit to Hardwick Hall, Ruth has also come up with a financial solution that could secure the future of Heath House for generations to come.
When it comes to a longer-term, bigger project, I think that the stable buildings would make fantastic holiday lets. I think you could be looking at 100,000 a year cash flow there as well.
Do you think the holiday lets would do in this area? Would do well?
There are enough people around about you that are doing it with large houses and have got successful holiday lets for me to think so, yes.
I mean, this has been gone into in some considerable depth already. And my estate agents, if you like, have poured buckets of cold water on the whole concept, saying because it's going to cost a hell of a lot and you're not going to derive sufficient income to cover it, to cover the expenditure. Can I just finish, yes, please? The cost of turning those stables into, let's for argument's sake, say office accommodation for the moment, it has generally been said that it would not cover the costs, that it would be...
But I'm not suggesting office accommodation.
No, I know you're not.
It's a stupid idea, because where are you going to get people to come and, you know, carry out business here? I mean, that's madness.
OK, fine. The other idea that has been floated was to have tree houses up in the back of the woods, which couldn't be done.
But this is all kind of nebulous, silly little bits and pieces.
Yes.
I think if the bank were to see a proper plan for this house, I think you would get some fundings from the bank, enough to do the stables.
And with a captive audience on site, Ruth thinks the Phillips could make more of their historic links with the Industrial Revolution.
It did occur to me that if you can join with other houses, Wedgwood and all the various places around, which are only there because of the industry that created them, I could see a tour of what made Britain great. I mean, Americans would love it because they got history lessons. I think the amalgam of all those things could provide a very, very decent cash flow.
But before considering any of Ruth's solutions, the Phillips need to resolve a crucial dilemma. Make a go of Heath House or sell up?
Normally, I ask people to do a certain amount of work before my next visit. In your case, I think the biggest thing has got to be a decision. And I think you have actually, perhaps with Justin as well, you actually have just got to sit round a table, lock yourselves in, and work out what you're going to do.
Yes, quite fine. Yes, I mean, there's no argument.
I'm sorry it's not music to your ears, John.
Well,
but, you know,
well, I've battled all my life, and after a while, you get...
You lose steam.
Well, you just, for God's sake, let's have a bit of peace.
If I give you no other piece of advice, it's that you've got to stop sitting on the pot and actually start pissing.
What a graphic description. Fine. It was good. It is like having a good internal flush out, and you feel better for it.
I think it could be tremendously exciting and very liberating, and might be the making of me.
It is an opportunity to let Benjamin start to fly.
I could be the hero that Heath House needs.
Providing that we don't get a really good offer.
4 weeks later, Ben calls Ruth with a worrying development.
Hello, Ruth.
Hi, how are you?
I had a phone call from my dad Tuesday night. Somebody has put in an offer
Right.
on the property for
2 million?
Yes, which is 40% below the asking price.
So is he seriously considering it?
He's got Mum yelling in his ear, it's an offer, it's an offer.
Ruth wants Ben to tackle this head-on and suggests he calls a family meeting.
I mean, the major thing is, Ben, if I say nothing else, is don't let John bully you.
No, you know, I'm going into this full guns blazing tomorrow.
I really think you should be trying to resist it. Good luck, Ben. Good luck.
All right.
The next day, Ben and his brother Justin head to their parents' home in Worcestershire to decide whether to give Ruth's plan a go or sell Heath House at a vastly reduced price.
I mean, Dad, this particular offer that's on the table at the moment, where are we with it?
I don't think as yet we know enough to know whether to give any positive answer. I don't say I'm procrastinating, but that is nonetheless the fact.
To be honest, I think that this whole business of keeping on the market just distracts us from what we're trying to do, which is to create a business. One feels we owe more to the place than just selling it for a song.
We've got to cross the threshold and do these events, because we get, frankly, derisory offers in from time to time, and they are not, when they're scrutinised, they're not worth the paper they're written on.
Then you've got to do Plan B.
Yeah.
But then if you're going into Plan B, then you've got to stick at it.
Yeah. And I suspect we'd achieve more in 2 years by doing this than we would by twiddling our thumbs.
This whole thing is going to take a long time.
The days of talking, we've had 7 years of it, and it's got to stop.
With an offer still on the table, the family remains divided. Justin and Ben are keen to keep Heath House and make it commercial, but aware of the family's past financial struggles, John and Flavia feel it more prudent to sell.
I suspect a little bit of Lady Macbeth dripping poison into Dad's ear and saying, you know, it's all going to go belly up.
One has to act in concert with one's wife, as I'm sure you know.
I don't truthfully think that selling it would make him happy. Deep down.
With the future of Heath House hanging in the balance, it's up to Ben to prove his worth. But is he fully equipped for the challenges that lie ahead?
This table's laid.
Whoa, no.
Who's opening the champagne?
Whoa.
Have you ever held a party before?
This is the sort of thing that happens, I suppose.
Heath House in North Staffordshire has been owned by the Phillips family for 5 generations. But this historic lineage could soon be over. Current owners John and Flavia Phillips have been considering an offer on the estate, but after weeks of protracted negotiations, it falls through. It's been almost 3 months since Ruth Watson's last visit. She's convinced the family don't need to sell the estate and can make it commercial. Ruth thinks it's time to give son and heir Ben the opportunity to prove himself.
Hello, Flavia. How are you?
Very
Good
nice
to see you. Good to see you. The joy, John, is the Phillips are here to greet me, not some unknown purchaser.
With a reprieve on the house, Ruth wants the Phillips to consider short-term solutions to their financial problems and has called in entrepreneurs Mark Chichester-Clark and Charlie Hurt.
Very attractive.
They run Stately Home Vacations, a brand new concept aimed at the high-end tourist market.
It's lovely. It's absolutely great. Yeah. What I thought we'd do, actually, probably later on this evening is, if the weather holds, then we'll have drinks out here on the terrace, if that's all right. Is that a good idea?
Stately Home Vacations have persuaded some of England's finest country houses to open their doors to paying guests, each property hand-picked by Mark and Charlie.
And obviously the big attraction is the view.
Lovely views.
Just during the summer as well.
Just the sort of thing we're after, actually, isn't it? Just.
And your bathroom is en suite through there.
It's a lucrative business. Parties of 10 will pay up to £1,500 for bed, breakfast and dinner with the gentry. Tonight, Ben is to host an overnight stay and a dinner party for 12.
You're going to be comfortable.
I will be very comfortable. You'll be all right here. Okay, great.
It's up to him to prove that he and Heath House are worthy of a place on the Stately Home Vacations books. Ruth is keen for Ben to prove that he can run Heath House successfully, but she suspects that John still has concerns.
He's impractical, and you do need practicality with Heath House. On the other hand, he's much more cerebral than I am. Countless people have said that I've sort of bullied Benjamin.
You would prefer it if he did stand up to you and
Yes, of course. My mother always used to say that I sort of bullied Benjamin or something. I haven't consciously done so, or it's been the last thing I wanted to do. My only concern is for Benjamin himself. But he has always sort of felt that Heath House would be where he could really blossom.
You seem to now be willing to have Ben give this a go.
I don't think he could live with himself if he didn't give it a go. I think that is what it amounts to.
I think it's really good that you have come round to this. It allows both of you to move on, because Benjamin can never hold it against you that you didn't give him a go.
Yes, absolutely. We'll throw a brick. I'd like you a lot.
With the go-ahead from John, all eyes are on Ben. And with tonight's guests due to arrive in a few hours' time, the pressure is on. On hand to help out is Stately Home Vacations' Dawn Rudd.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
It's coming on, isn't it?
OK. Well, I'm going to light the fire now.
OK.
So.
Hi, Ben. How's it all going?
Hi. Hello, Mark. Yeah, no, we're doing well.
Looks good.
We must think about the plasma, where we're all going to sit.
Yeah.
Just hope we don't burn down the house before dinner.
Yeah.
The chef is busy in the kitchen as Ben makes the last-minute touches in the dining room.
Teach you a little trick of napkin fold.
OK,
Oh, no, not napkin fold.
I will go and...
Do you want to go and wash your hands?
I will go and wash my hands.
I shall start.
Most of the guests have arrived and it's time for drinks on the terrace. But nothing seems to be happening. Ruth is worried.
I'm slightly concerned because all the guests should have arrived, and I don't think they all have.
Yeah.
All the other things, tables laid.
Yeah.
And wine. Who's opening the champagne?
Right.
Have you ever held a party before?
Forgive me, because I thought Dawn was coordinating it, and there's been a lack of communication as to who's doing what.
Right. Do you think you ought to be asking Dawn who is doing what?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah? We need to fill those gaps.
OK, all right. You go talk with Dawn.
I think the first things we need to do, first of all, get a drink up and running, and obviously find out where the guests are.
Give them another 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean...
You sort out drinks and...
Right. The champagne is in the fridge?
Champagne's in the fridge.
Right.
There's orange juice on the side. OK. Well, we can put the sort of a few things in motion and hopefully they might turn up.
Right.
Okay.
Should we go up through here?
Absolutely.
Ben eventually gets the champagne flowing.
I am. Let me top that glass, because the tide seems to have gone out.
But two guests are still missing, and dinner is due to be served in half an hour.
So are we still missing people?
We're still missing two guests. We've got the champagne lined up and the flutes and everything else.
Right, yeah. I think you need to talk to the cook.
Right.
Find out how they're doing, because there needs to be a point where you actually say these people aren't going to arrive.
Right, OK.
A decision has to be made. Ben, this is a small decision, but it's one you need to make.
Right, OK.
Eventually, the missing guests arrive.
Hello, hi.
Just in time for dinner.
Timothy and Caroline, is it?
Yes.
Hello, hi, Ben Phillips. Very nice to meet you.
How do you do?
Hello. This is Dawn. Hello, yeah, do come on in.
Hi.
I hope you all heard that. Yes. Dinner is now served.
As the guests savour the atmosphere, they get a chance to find out more about the family.
And as everybody says, if you're a single man living with your aunt...
It's a jolly good thing to do.
And its ancestry.
So my great-grandfather, my grandfather him, and my great-great is him. Not a very nice person, I'm told.
Age 42, he boards with my sister, has done for the last 20 years.
How sensible.
So what was the surname? OK.
So I think that was the connection. I don't know.
The whole thing feels lived in, and it isn't just a sort of big house. It's a real home. And
I quite agree. And lovely gardens.
And the caption is, "This is why Mummy won't let me be king."
horrible.
Obviously, this has been an experiment, and it's shown up the fact that Ben is a little unskilled at hostly duties, but he is very sweet. And I think it really shows that Heath House is so well suited to this kind of event. People sitting around the table in the dining room, eating and drinking, and being interested in the history of the house, interested in the history of the Phillips family. I think, judiciously planned, this could work.
Ben has risen to the challenge. But what do the guests think about their stately evening?
The hosts were utterly charming, having never met them before, and that, after all, is what makes an evening.
It's got the most lovely family atmosphere. It's all slightly sort of old-fashioned, and it's wonderful.
It's a place lots of people are going to want to come to.
The next morning and the guests tuck into breakfast. If the Phillips hosted just 2 of these events a month, they could increase their annual turnover by £36,000. But has Ben done enough to impress the experts, Mark and Charlie?
I think Heath House is fantastic. I'm really impressed.
I thought the family were fantastic hosts. They made an effort to get to know everybody, and that's incredibly important.
I think Americans would love it. We would certainly want to use it.
Heath House and Ben have made the grade, and it's prompted John to make a significant decision that could see Ben permanently take on the estate.
The house is coming off the market, so Benjamin does have a clear run. One must be positive that things do work out. And who knows what, even Miss Wright might turn up. Benjamin can't really get out of now being in the hot seat.
With the estate firmly off the market, Ben is determined to prove to his parents that he's up for the challenge. He aims to employ a company to run events, but today he's hosting his first wedding reception, the first at Heath House for 18 months. The pressure's on. Ruth estimates that weddings alone could rake in around £80,000 a year, enough to run the whole estate. To help out, Ben's drafted in Aunt Anthea, his London landlady.
Whoa. Whoa.
Hang on to the wall.
Yeah, thanks.
Ben must ensure that the day runs like clockwork, but already there are problems with the lighting system.
I don't know why this one doesn't work now.
No.
You said it... Did it work previously?
Yeah, when I first came out of the front door, it was on when I plugged it in. Now it's died.
All right.
You might have to reference your father.
It's not something to be undertaken too lightly, is it? Having your own marquee.
You need a screwdriver?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's good to thrust him into the deep end, and only by mistakes will he learn. I don't mean that too pompously, but that's fact, isn't it?
Right, I will go and I'll go and get a new bulb. This is the sort of thing that happens, I suppose.
With the lighting sorted, the stage is set, and Ben is front of house.
Hello, I'm Ben. Hello, how do you do?
Mate.
Hello, I'm the next generation down, so...
I think I've met you before a bit, though.
Oh, I think we may have done, actually, yes.
In the garden.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, how... Your wife looks fantastic. Very nice to meet you. I'm Benjamin. Yeah.
You're in charge
of the family, yeah. So it's lovely to have everybody here today, yeah.
Bride and groom Hayley and Matt live locally and were thrilled to discover that Heath House was back on the market as a wedding venue.
Over the moon with the venue. I say, when Matt proposed to me, I wanted it up here, but they weren't doing weddings at the time, so it was an off chance that I asked if they were doing them, and it just so happened he was starting doing weddings again. So we jumped at the chance, didn't we? And
yeah, something special, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ben might be running proceedings, but John has plenty of wisdom to hand down to his son.
Now, you could produce the odd cushion, just those sorts of little things, but I know they're bloody uncomfortable, those chairs. Now, go forth, Ben.
What, meet and greet?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm Ben. I'm the son of...
John?
Yeah, that's right, you know. Sorry, him. They're kind of handing over the meet and greet to me now.
Must just kiss the bride. Hello.
How are
well
you?
done. Very well.
Those benches are chronically uncomfortable. Would you like a couple of cushions? Because I can go and get a couple. Would that be...
No,
Are you all right?
fine. What about yours?
Are you all right on that? OK, OK.
Was it your mum, Mrs. Phillips?
Yes.
I remember her.
Good.
I
Well,
thought she was a lovely lady.
Yes, she had a strong character.
Nothing wrong with that.
In the fullness of time, you've got to find your own style, and it's easier to do that if you haven't got the monkey on your back.
Sometimes one has to just...
You do, bite your tongue.
Bite your tongue, just
you
a
do.
little.
Especially with children.
The odd... Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you get soaked? I think last time it was this end that came off.
When a problem with the water supply threatens to disable the portaloos, Ben's on the case. A proud Aunt Anthea looks on.
Well, it seems that though Benjamin's doing quite a good job, it's an opportunity for him and he just needs to make a success of something to prove to his parents that he can.
The old man's so tight he won't buy any more.
With the wedding reception in full swing, Ben can at last relax and reflect on his success.
I've really enjoyed it. I was a little bit apprehensive at the beginning. I think, like all of these things, it's down to practice. And if we can get a really smooth machine up and running, there's no reason why we can't lay on a very good show every time.
But despite his promise to take the house off the market, John appears to be going back on his word.
I was accused of procrastinating by Ruth, and to that extent I will perhaps go on procrastinating and keep our options open. Given a really good offer, then one would be mad not to consider it.
With Ben's trial period over, time is running out for Heath House. Can Ruth persuade John Phillips that it's time to finally hand over the reins to his eldest son?
What is the harm in giving it a try?
And has Ben done enough to prove that he is up to the job?
Because they don't think I can wipe my bottom.
Ben Phillips is determined to persuade his parents not to sell their ancestral home and give him the chance to run it as a commercial concern. With the help of Ruth Watson, he's proved he's got what it takes. But Ben's parents are yet to be convinced and are considering a new offer on the estate. In a bid to unite the family, Ruth returns to Heath House for the final time.
I'm not actually expecting to see many material changes at Heath House. It's more about whether Ben has been able to develop the steely resolve necessary to resist his father's plans for this house, namely to sell it.
In her first visit 7 months ago, Ruth suggested the Phillips celebrate their heritage. Ben has started work on collating the wealth of information.
So this is not the same room we were in when I saw the collection with Flavia, is it?
It's not. This was a bedroom. This seemed to be a good idea to convert it into an archive room for the time being.
I have to be very honest, Ben, this is pretty much what I saw the first time. It needs to have some more meaning than this. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, I do. And I think if we can pull all of this together, I think it would really help to give the place a narrative and a uniqueness that the people would take away with.
And how are we doing on this business of offers for the house?
Dad told me that there is one other person, and that if that doesn't materialise, then that we take it off the market and we concentrate on this.
Can you trust him on that?
I lost my temper with him, because we can go on like this forever.
Well, I think the only way that your parents are going to believe in you is for you to actually do something physical, to say, right, I'm here, I'm coming here.
My plan is to move up here in the spring of next year.
Well, I think you need to declare that.
It is a nightmare, parents and children, and you need an intermediary because they don't think I can wipe my bottom.
Impressed with Ben's newfound confidence, Ruth calls the family, including brother Justin, to a meeting to resolve the matter once and for all.
The problem really is that, John, to date, Ben is not really getting the support from you because you keep looking at offers for the house. So, in effect, this actually isn't a problem about how to raise money, because I think that's really quite easy.
I don't entirely agree with you. To date, we have only got 2 bookings for next year. That is all we've got.
But the reason for that is because there's always this caveat about, is the house actually going to be in your ownership? And while that situation pertains, it's never going to go full thrust.
Yes, but I think that if a really good offer did come along, then one should consider it.
But I don't think you can have it both ways. I find it quite baffling that you wouldn't give Ben that opportunity, even if you think he's going to fail, because the jeopardy is so small in comparison with the opportunity. I mean, in the future, Justin, I mean, would you want to come and live here?
It'd be fantastic to see the place, you know, operating as a successful business. Of course it would be. In terms of the immediate plans, I mean, Benjamin is centre stage here.
If we're going to put all our eggs into Benjamin's basket, we do want to feel comfortable that Benjamin has got the necessary training and ability to handle it.
Because you don't trust that he can do it.
No,
My point
that
is,
hasn't been said.
Well, I think it's very evident, because otherwise you'd just be saying, get on with it.
We need clarity and focus here, away from the distractions of possible interested buyers, because that just makes me feel crap, to be honest. Because I think, well, am I investing in here or am I not? You know.
Nobody is answering the question that I really want to know. What is the harm in giving it a try?
There is no harm. So no, fine. Let's let Benjamin have a clear run at it.
And I think, you know, Ben, you have got to show the gumption to do this. Could we have agreement that as long as Ben is living here, he gets till the end of 2011 to prove what he can do?
Fine, OK.
Going to hold you to it, John?
With agreement at last within the Phillips family, Ruth leaves them with one final thought.
The only last thing that Ben's got to do, of course, is procreate somehow.
Well, I'm quite glad I haven't got that burden as well as this at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
I think it shows that massive progress has been made in as much as the Phillips family have now agreed that Ben can have his opportunity of living here, of making a business here, and of trying to make it work. I think he's going to have to show an enormous amount of stamina and robustness to stand up to his father, but at least he's got his chance.